Hello everybody, this is Ben from VGBlaster and today I'm bringing you my post G-BT05 Brawler deck profile. Not changed, you don't really add much to this deck, I only added 2 cards, but this is my main deck and I haven't done a profile on it yet, so I thought it would be the best time to do it. So for my starting Vanguard I run Sparky Dragoon. He is your Forerunner grade 3 searcher for Narukami. This deck is very powerful, but it lives and dies on you having grade 3s to get effects off and striding. So he's very good for just helping to make the deck consistent. And so yeah, that's where we run him. For grade 3s, we will start off with Brawler Big Bang Knuckle Buster. Very good card. When he's in Legion, Card Blast 1, choose a card with Big Bang Knuckle in its card name from your hand and put it into this card's soul. He gains plus 5,000 power and the ability to attack 4 units in 1 attack. So that's either 4 of your opponent's rear guards or 3 of their rear guards and the Vanguard. And he has the secondary effect of, if you have a card with Big Bang Knuckle Dragon in its card name, in this card's soul, he gains permanently plus 2k. So it's crossfire power if you have the your other grade 3 in the soul. So your ideal play is running into him, going into Legion, and then putting Big Bang Knuckle Dragon into the soul for his effect. The crossfire power is still very good in terms of defense, especially against decks like Aquaforce. So it's just a little extra that helps you out. And obviously our other grade 3 will be Big Bang Knuckle Dragon. His effect is, when you're in Legion, counterblast 2 cards with Brawler in their card name. He gains plus 5,000 power and the ability to attack all your opponent's rear guards all your opponent's units, in the front row. So it's the Vermilion effect, and a secondary effect of Soul Blast 1. When this unit attacks, pay the cost. If you do, he gains plus 3k. So I don't really use that, it's just kind of there to help make magic numbers. If he is attacking by himself with a 7k booster, it just makes 21, helps make magic numbers. So that's what that's there. Ideally, you don't want to be riding him, you'll be using him to stride, or putting him into the soul of your Big Bang Knuckle Buster on his effect to gain your crossfire power. So moving on to grade 2s, we will run 4 copies of Big Bang / Buster. His effect is, when this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Big Bang Knuckle in its card name, he gains plus 2k to the end of turn. So basically, on your turn, if you are at grade 3, any of your grade 3s, he is 11k attacker. And the secondary effect of, when this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Big Bang Knuckle in its card name, when that Vanguard, for each time that Vanguard hits a unit, he gains plus 3k. So that's Vanguard or rear guard, every time your Vanguard hits, plus 3k. So you go into Knuckle Buster, attack 4 units, hits all 4, he gains plus 12k. You go into Turbo, hits everything, he gains 18k. On top of his 11k base by himself. Very, very good card, very powerful beat stick. For your opponent to deal with, especially after losing all the rear guards as well. So next we will run 2 copies of Big Bang / Dragon. Very similar effect to the secondary effect of / Buster. It's when your Vanguard with Brawler in its card name hits, he gains plus 3k once again, anything he hits. The difference is with him, if you want to go for a bit of a rush early game, it's good to remember that he only needs Brawler in its card name for his effect, where he needs Big Bang Knuckle. So if you're going for a bit of an early game rush, it is more ideal to, say, ride into / Buster and call / Dragon, because as a Vanguard, if he hits, / Dragon gains the power, whereas if it was the other way around, he would not gain the power. So it's just a good thing to remember early game if you do want to go for that bit of a rush. So yeah, just to add early pressure, or waste some guard in your opponent's hand. I only run / Dragon at 2. If you want to push him up to more than that, that is absolutely fine. For me personally, I like running Chitara at 3. His effect is he cannot attack a rear guard, but he is, on your turn, gains plus 3k, so he's 11k. And then when he hits a Vanguard, counterblast 1, you may bind a card in your opponent's drop zone, which is usually their Perfect Guard G, and then you draw a card. So I like him for his 11k base. Conquest is a big play in this deck because your opponent either doesn't have rear guards or think it's smart to not call them. So you just go into Conquest, and he becomes 21k. So it's a magic number. And his secondary effect is pressure for your opponent to guard against him, so they will throw a lot of the hand down against him, meaning they have less to use on other stuff or later in the game. And finally for grade 2s, I will run 2 Brawler Skyhall. His effect is when he's placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Brawler Vanguard, counterblast 1, choose a card in your opponent's front row and retire it. He's very good if you want to go into Conquest and your opponent has a full front row. So you can stride Conquest, call him, kill one unit, and then use Conquest's effect to kill the other. And then you still gain your 10k. He's also very good for quelling early game rushes. If your opponent has a lot of grade 2s or tries to play the grade 2 game against you, it can kind of put an end to that or make it easier to deal with. That's not that much of a problem anymore because Odysseus has thankfully been hit in the English game down to 2. So ripples aren't as much as a presence as they were. But you still got to have, if you are very worried about the grade 2 game, you can up him to 3 or 4 by knocking down / Buster or Chitara down by 1. Once again, that's personal preference. You kind of build your grade 2s the way you want to. I don't run the new grade 2. I forgot his name, but his effect is when you're in Legion, counterblast 1, and each time your Vanguard hits a unit, he gains plus 5k. Obviously, he is very powerful, but the Legion restriction is really what puts me off him in terms of consistency, because I do tend to stride more. You can't use his effect with turbo. Obviously, that wouldn't be fair, but that's just why I don't run him. I prefer this grade 2 lineup because it's a bit more consistent and very much my kind of playstyle. For grade 1s, we run 4 Perfect Guard Gs. This deck, all its counterblasts are in increments of 1, but you can go through them very quickly, so it is Anastasia is just good for keeping that open, and obviously it's Perfect Guard. You do need those in this game. Next for grade 1s, we run 4 of the Stride Enabler. Once again, this deck lives or dies on you being able to stride and or get Legion effects off, so he just helps with consistency with that, and make sure you are getting your big plays off, making sure your opponent, you're constantly putting pressure onto your opponent. And in the vein of putting pressure on your opponent, here is our first new card of the deck, Secret Fist Brawler Kokon. Probably not how you say that, that's what I'm going to call him though. He is basically a grade 1 version of /Dragon, which is every time your Vanguard Brawler's card name hits, he gains plus 3k. So whenever you have a Vanguard Brawler and he hits anything plus 3k, even works as a booster, he still gains the power, he does not need to be attacking. So he's very good in a column with a /Dragon, because that column just gets crazy power, or behind his Chitara for pressure on that attack. So he's amazing. Can't believe they made this card, to be honest, and as a common, I know people who already didn't like Brawlers are very, very angry about that. And finally, for grade 1s, we run Ton for Brawler Arc. His effect is during your turn, when your Vanguard is in Legion, he gains plus 3k every time an opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone. So obviously he is... Kokon is the superior version of this card, so that's why we run him at 4. But Arc is still good to have, because you still use the Legion and get that effect off. So he's still more pressure, more power. I don't run Phoenix because I don't really have a problem with draw power in this deck. Phoenix also has lower base power, and I like to keep the Soul for turbo, so I can consistently actually use my turbo. So yeah, you can also run the other grade 1, which is, I forgot his name, but when he's called, if your opponent has 1 or less rearguard in the front row, you can drop and draw. If you are worried about consistency, or that could build up your drop zone for Legion, but I just prefer Arc once again because I go for big power plays in this deck. For triggers, we will run 8 crit, the most important being 4 copies of this card, Brawler Street Fight Dragon, the other new card of the deck from Moonlit Dragonfang. This card once again, also amazing, also can't believe it's common. His effect is, from rearguard circle, you can put this unit on top of your deck. If you have a Vanguard with Brawler in its card name, choose one of your rearguards with Brawler in its card name, and he gains the /Dragon effect of when your Vanguard with Brawler in its card name, actually no, just when your Vanguard hits a unit, it gains plus 3k, and then you shuffle your deck, obviously, so he's not just on the top, because that would be unfair. Not that this card is fair, you can stack this onto a /Dragon or a Kokon to make it so they gain 6k every time your Vanguard hits a unit. Just adds even more power to a deck that already had way too much. Once again, people that don't like brawlers aren't happy this is a thing. But he's also very good because obviously he goes back to the deck. He helps keep your deck full of crits, keeps your deck full if you're playing like an Angel Feather or a Link Joker where the games go into very late game, long turns, and they try and stall you out. So it just helps you keep your deck full, and obviously it's full of crits. And obviously you keep getting his effect off, making units more powerful. And so finally for triggers, we will run 4 draw and 4 heal. Don't really think I need to explain that. So for the strides, to start, I will be running 2 copies of Lightning Dragon Knight Zuras. His effect is when he hits your opponent's Vanguard, you choose one of their they choose one of their rear guards and retire it. Then you choose 2 cards from their drop zone and bind them. I run him. I don't run Turbo at 4. I know a lot of people do run Turbo at 4 because they like powering him up with his the second part of his effect. But there can be occasions when you go it's time for you to strike your first stride. You don't have the drop zone for Legion, and your opponent only has 1 rear guard on the field. Usually the Forerunner. They haven't called any others. So Turbo would be wasted. Obviously you can't go into Conquest because he needs a card face up already. So Zuras is ideal there in that situation. And it has happened many times for me, so Zuras has been very useful. So yeah, he is just there for that because I don't like wasting my turbos. So I do run Turbo at 2. If you know what Turbo does, he is Cat Boss 1, Store Boss 1. Choose a card in your G zone and turn it face up. It doesn't have to be a copy of him, it can be anything. And he gains the effect of, if you have a heart with Big Bang Knuckle in its card name, he gains the effect for every unit in this card's heart. He can attack 3 units in 1 attack, and then he gains plus 5k for each face-up copy of himself in the G zone. So you stride him on top of a grade 3, not in Legion, he attacks 3 units. You stride him on top of a card in Legion, you can choose up to 6 units, which is basically your opponent's whole field, Vanguard and all rear guards. So he's a very good card, very amazing. Like I said, I don't like wasting him, so if your opponent doesn't have any really, all has 1 rear guard for your first stride, go to Zuras and then save Turbo for later in the game when he's going to be best used, and then just use him and flip the other copy, and then you gain the power. If your opponent does call a few rear guards before your first stride, then go into Turbo, flip a Zuras, and then you have another one to use later in the game, flip with the Zuras, and then he'll gain the power from the Turbo used earlier. That's why I tend to play the deck. I find that works best. I'm not wasting turbos, using Counter Blast, Soul Blast when I don't need to. Once again, there can be a situation where you don't have the Counter Blast for Turbo early game, so Zuras is once again the better option there. And finally, for our grade 4s, we will run 4 Conquering Supreme Dragon, Conquest Dragon. His effect is once per turn. If you have a face-up card in your G zone, G-Persona flip him, choose a card in your opponent's front row and retire it, and then your front row gains 5k for each empty rearguard circle in your opponent's front row. So if your opponent has no front row, your front row gains 10k. If they have 1 card, you gain 5k for each card in your front row. So he's very, very good. This deck is all about power plays, so either if your opponent has rear guards, you go into Turbo, and then if you've either killed all the rear guards or your opponent thinks it's clever not to call them or is holding on to them to try and use them later, Conquest is your other power play. You just go into him and you gain power regardless. So he's very, very good there. So it is very hard for your opponent to respond to this deck because of that. So you're going to gain power either way. If they have rear guards, they're losing them, you gain power. If they don't have rear guards, you're gaining power anyway. So that's why this deck is very good, why a lot of people don't like it, because there is really no response. You just kind of have to deal with it, I suppose. So yeah, that has been my deck profile for my Brawler deck. Hope you guys enjoyed. I am waiting on some stuff to arrive, and then I will be doing a Vanquisher and a Eradicator build, the finished Brawler Dragon build. So yeah, I'll be doing them, and hopefully we'll get some fights up from Moonlit Dragonfang decks very, very soon. So look forward to that. Subscribe to make sure you get notified of those coming up, and hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Ben from VGBlaster, and see you soon. Bye!